Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about 7 different ways you can use a historical costume degree. So what I mean by this is if you go on to do a historical costume degree or even just a costume degree in general, the kind of jobs that you could look for after doing that degree, whether it's in the actual industry itself or something a little bit different, but still there's a lot you can do with this degree. And so I thought I'd make this fun video to show you where you could go with this and if it's a possibility for you and if something you would enjoy. So before we get started, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. I do like to do sew-alongs, interesting videos about sewing tools and different kind of things that you might need if you're a sewing beginner, or backstory of me and how I got to my journey. So make sure you subscribe and then you can keep up to all my latest videos. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. So the first one on the list is become a teacher. This is something that is very popular for a lot of people that have been within a kind of field or even within a kind of industry or profession, and they no longer want to be within the kind of rat race of the profession but still love it so much that they want to be included in it in somehow, and teaching is a great way of doing that. So if you don't want to be working for a big IT company but you still love IT teacher might be the thing for you. This is a similar situation. You might have worked in the industry for quite a few years, got quite a lot of kind of experience under your belt, so you might think that teaching is a good way to go. This could be something as simple as teaching textiles and like home economics within a high school, or it could be something more complex like into college or even a university degree course itself. So there's different levels of where you can teach what you do teach. This is all depending on your level of experience and what you feel like teaching. You might want to strip back to the basics and kind of just do the high school stuff, which is kind of a bit more easier, or you might want to do something a bit more complex, such as university. Go back to maybe the college or the university that you were at and be a teacher there, because then at least you've got a first-hand knowledge of the course and kind of how a student sees the course and copes with the course and all this kind of thing. So that's a really good way for you to kind of use your degree but in a different way. A lot of places might need you to have so many years experience within the industry itself, and you might also have to go back to university for a year at least to kind of get your teacher's degree or something. You might need to do a course on that just to make sure that you are qualified, and you'd have to have all your checks done as well. That's especially in the UK. I know that's something that you kind of have to go through these loops to be able to do that. So that's something to take into consideration if that's the road that you want to go down. Number 2 on the list is probably the most obvious, which is become a costume maker itself. So obviously if you go through this whole course and you learn everything you want to learn or need to learn to get you started within the costume industry, you can go on and get a job in the industry. This is either working on TV, film, or even in theatres itself, or even with travelling theatres is a very popular one that I know a couple of people from my course went to do. And that's a really good way, especially if you like travel, you don't mind moving from from place to place, country to country and so on. So that's a really good way of being able to see the world but do something you love at the same time and have a steady income while you do so. So when you go into, especially if you're going into TV, film and theatre, it's very likely that once you've kind of graduated from university, you would be going into the most bottom role there is within the industry you go into. So you'd be looking at wardrobe assistant, you'd be doing cleaning, very minor repairs if that. You would very much be a runner and running around and doing all the nitty gritty small pieces of work. And then within that, kind of industry, or even within that company itself, you can work your way up and work your way into doing more work while you're there and with the people, especially if you can find a mentor within that kind of industry, within that company. If you find somebody that, is willing to teach you more, take you under their wing, kind of take you around and get you really up to speed on other things that you don't already know, or even to refine the skills that you do have would be great as well. So personally, I did look for jobs within my area, which is, there's not many at all, I will admit. There's not many theatres, or even, theatres that need a lot of costume people, and so they already had what they needed, and so this was something I really struggled with. If you're looking at theatre specifically itself, London is probably the place you need to be. Along with TV, I would say obviously America's very big on TV, especially LA because of the Hollywood scene. And if you think about TV, a lot of productions such as BBC in itself are based in London. So that's something you want to look into. If you are wanting to go into this industry, be prepared to move to London for the work. If you are further up north, obviously there is other places such as ITV are based in Yorkshire, so you can find work there if you want. And there's other places such as Scotland that have their own kind of TV stations which you can work for again. This doesn't mean you'll always be based in London, it just means that that's where the most opportunities are. Much like anything else, it's quite a major hub, it's the capital of England, so it's going to be the place where everything kind of happens. Everybody goes there for the West End, so that's where you're going to find a lot of your major productions and theatre companies. Even if you do find a role within a costume department or something similar, it's nothing to turn your nose up if you are starting from the bottom, because these are very hard jobs to find. Because there's not enough demand for the people within this industry, and there's a lot of people obviously working up to try and be the leader roles and the more important roles within there. If you can even get in at the bottom rate, I would do so and work your way up. Number 3 is go into writing a blog. So this is what I've done. I've used my sewing skills and my kind of techniques and skills that I've used from university and college, and I've decided that I didn't want to go into the industry. I didn't want to go into a kind of like that high intense field. I didn't want to do that. Instead, my wife actually came up with the idea of creating a blog where I could document things that I make or things that I want to make, and kind of all these different things, tools I use, and it's been something I've really enjoyed. It started off as a passion project and still kind of is now, but it's definitely something that I love doing. I created this YouTube channel to try and kind of add another level to it for those who don't like to learn on paper. I thought on screen might also help. So yeah, it's definitely something I've found has been a good way of using my skills and kind of being able to do something I love without having to think about the kind of trying to have the pressure of having to make money to be able to kind of support myself. So this is just a bonus for me. If I make any money from any of this, this is just a bonus. But if not, then it's not the end of the world, because it's solely a passion project for me. You can do this, of course, in a number of fields. You don't have to go into making, using it as a historical costume course, you don't have to use those skills specifically and talk about those. You can use it for making clothing, or even just anything to do with sewing, really. Any kind of part of the niche of sewing itself, quilting, patchwork, making clothing, applique, or even textiles and kind of like fabric manipulation. There's a whole range of things you can do within the sewing niche itself, so that's something definitely you could explore. And while this is a passion project for myself, it doesn't have to be for you. You can definitely turn this into a business. You can create the blog with the YouTube channel and social media accounts with it. You can sell products, create your own sewing patterns, create your own kits and sell these things online through your website, through Etsy or eBay. And these are all different things you can do, and they are very profitable. There's many people doing it, and it's definitely something you can do to create a career and a business from this. Number 4 is going into cosplay costume making. So we all know cosplay is such a fantastic thing. It's very popular, and it's something that I think there's a lot of people who are not trained to be costume makers but have made some fantastic things for themselves for conventions, and I think it's just a fantastic space. I think it's very creative, very expressive, and I really love what people can do with the materials they find, and I just think it's amazing what people can make. And so if you find yourself feeling that you're a bit more into the kind of not historical part of costume but performance, so something that's wearable but it needs to be light or it needs to be easy to get out of, all these different kind of elements, this is something that kind of comes into cosplay, because a lot of people need it to be light, or they need to be airy, or they need to be able to get themselves in and out of it in one, with just the ease of a zip or something like that. So you could go into making cosplay costumes professionally for a company, for yourself, for part of a team, anything. There's definitely a lot of people looking for this online, and I think it's definitely a big niche that you can get into. It's a big market, and it's definitely one that you can be really expressive with and really kind of get into a project and really test out your skills as a creator. Number 5 on the list is branch out into designing. So when I was doing my course at university, one of the parts that we had to do along with the making was also the designing. So we had to be able to express what we envisioned for this costume within just a simple sketch and a few kind of like materials and things on the side. This is something, if you enjoy drawing and you enjoy kind of creating something, a visual something, instead of the making, it can be a little bit more hard to do, or it can just be a little bit more complex, or it can just be a little bit more like a long-winded process. If you enjoyed the drawing and this like kind of calmness of it, that might be something you go into. So if you don't really want to go into the wardrobe department itself, you might even look at going into the designing department. So this is something, again, you might start at the bottom and work your way up, but it's still very much a good place to go. I found that there was a number of girls on my course that ended up going into the designing process themselves, because they found that that was something they enjoyed more than the actual costume making, and they definitely did have the talents for it. So even if you don't feel like you're extremely confident, but it's something you really enjoy, work on your skills, go take some more classes, build up and practice more of what you want, how you express yourself. Just because you don't draw like this person or this person doesn't mean that you can't do it. Everyone is very unique, and that is the whole point of being a designer, is that it's your expression and your feelings coming across in that picture. So don't be disheartened if you don't feel like you're good enough to start with, because you definitely will be. So I would just practice your skills, work on what you already can do, and just kind of build up your confidence and try and go for one of those roles. Even if it's just kind of following somebody and shadowing somebody for a little while, or find a local low production theatre kind of thing, and offer your services for free for the first time and see if they want to pay you for the next time. Pantos at Christmas time that are in local theatres or community centres, they're a really good place for you to start and showcase your skills, build a portfolio ready to take on to your next bigger project. So number 6 is branch into prop development. So something I did when I did my college course, again when I did my university course, was go into prop development. So we didn't really do that much at university. We did, I made in my own umbrella, I made hats and little accessories as that, but I didn't do any major props. Whereas in college, I did do props, part of an Alice in Wonderland outdoor theatre performance, and we made lifelike giant birds and ladybirds and creatures and all these different kind of props that were used within the production. And so we really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that because it was still creative, but it was a little bit different, and so it was really interesting to do. Within one of my placements at university, I got a tour of the prop department at a local theatre at Leeds Grand, and I was amazed by all the different materials and everything that was done, and I even got to chat to the head of the department there, and I was really amazed by all the different things that they do and the processes they go through. So because this is something that really intrigued me, I did look at trying to get a job into that department as well, while I was still looking for jobs in the theatre industry altogether. but it was something I was unsuccessful with, but it wasn't a huge loss, but it would have been a really fun department to work in. So if you discover that the whole kind of making of a costume is not really your thing, but you still really like the vibe of kind of working in the industry of costume, theatre, film, TV, then look into props, prop development, prop everything. You can be making them, sourcing them, breaking them down to make them look aged and old. There's a whole different like kind of range of things you can do within that department itself, so it can be really fulfilling, really fun, and really challenging. So this is something, if you still want to be in that kind of atmosphere within film, TV and theatre, then this is definitely another place that you can look for and maybe find a job and work your way up and kind of just explore the different areas within the industry. So that is all on my list. I hope you found this useful. I hope you found it fun, and I hope it's been able to give you a little look into the different jobs that you can do, whether you've got a costume degree or even just a sewing degree. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and check out the rest of my videos on sewing basics, sew-alongs and sewing tutorials. Bye.